Hello, everyone. This is Jed Distler, and I welcome you to the Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. We were talking about holiday stocking stuffers a few weeks ago, and, when I was too lazy or couldn't be bothered to buy Christmas presents for my nieces and nephews, I would just give them a gift certificate that would allow them to download music. And I would point out to them all of those cheap downloadable bundles of MP3 files from the Bach Guild. The Bach Guild was originally launched in the early 1950s as a subsidiary label of the Vanguard Record Company, and they issued mostly Bach and Baroque music and things like that. Anyway, Bach Guild is now a download label that offers these MP3 download bundles with names like Big Beethoven Box or Bigger Oratorio Box or Big Mahler Box. They have a big harpsichord box, there's a big Chopin box, a big ragtime box. It goes on and on and on. And you used to be able to find these download bundles for something like 99 cents a pop. And you still can find them on different websites, although prices may vary. I mean, you'll find them for $1.29 or maybe even a little more. They're basically inexpensive, and these Bach Guild bundles are basically a handy way to get hold of tons of music for not a lot of money. So I'm looking now at the Bach Guild Big Piano Concertos box. This collection contains more than 10 hours of music, and much of the material originates from the Vanguard label's back catalog. And we're going to go through the contents to see if it's really worth your hard-earned 99 cents or $1.29 or whatever. So I'm looking through all the contents here on my computer folder in no particular order. So let's see what we have first. Oh, okay. We have here Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 9, Crucial 271, the so-called Jeune Homme Concerto. And this is the recording with Alfred Brendel that was on the Vanguard label with Antonio Ianigro conducting I Solisti di Zagreb. This is a very fine performance, and I don't think it yields anything necessarily to Alfred Brendel's remake on Philips with Neville Marriner, especially in the sharp rhythmic profile characterizing the outer movements. This was a good choice for this collection. Next on the list is the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto No. 1 with pianist John Ogden, the London Symphony Orchestra, and Pierre Monteux conducting. This is a live recording. It's good, but it's not great, and it's not all that well recorded. Excellent Tchaikovsky First Concerto recordings are a dime a dozen, and I guess with this performance, you probably just had to be there. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it's certainly a fine performance, but you can really do so much better. The next concerto on this list, this is Mozart's final piano concerto, the Concerto No. 27 in B-flat, Crucial 595. And this is a recording that was licensed from the sadly defunct Pro Art label. It has pianist Peter Serkin on wonderful form, and he gets fine support from Joseph Silverstein conducting the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra. Any Mozart with Peter Serkin really is worth hearing. However, the Brahms Piano Concerto No. 2 in this collection with Peter Serkin, I think, is kind of underplayed, not only from Serkin, but also in the rather diffident conducting by Robert Shaw at the helm of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. This also was on the Pro Art label. Now there's a marvelous Beethoven Fourth Concerto with one of my very favorite pianists, Bruce Hungerford, and this first appeared in a Vanguard box set on CD. The only thing is that the orchestra and the conductor have never been identified. Very strange. And the sound quality could be better. It's a live recording, but Bruce Hungerford plays wonderfully, so it's worth it for him. Now we have the Grieg Concerto with Joseph Silverstein again conducting, and he's whipping up great support from the Utah Symphony this time. But his piano soloist is Russell Sherman, and Russell Sherman could be very finicky and persnickety and interventionist and twitchy, and he just can't play anything simply. I mean, he's not uninteresting, but this is a Grieg concerto that is just too interventionist for my taste. And let's see, the next concerto in my list here. Oh, this is a really distinctive Mozart G major concerto, Koschel 453. Friedrich Gulda is playing. He's wonderful, and he's in a very playful and spontaneous mood in those wonderful third movement variations, and Paul Ungerer is conducting. It's a really fine performance. And we have Mozart's D minor concerto, Koschel 466. And the pianist is a very stylish yet overly gentle Dennis Matthews. And he's accompanied by Hans Swarovski conducting the Vienna State Opera Orchestra. And it's not the most interesting accompaniment. I mean, this conductor is basically beating time. And, you can do much better in this concerto at a bargain price. And also part of this collection is the Chopin Piano Concerto No. 1. And this is a recording that came out on Vanguard, and it features Rosina Levine. She was in her late 70s or early 80s. And her playing is that of a seasoned artist who's obviously been around the block with this concerto. It's not the most scintillating Chopin first concerto you'll ever hear, but it's very elegant and it's rippling and full of insights of phrasing and timing. And I think a lot of hotshot young virtuosos can learn something from Rosina Levine's authority. Now we have the Schumann Concerto. Oh, this again is Russell Sherman. This was originally coupled with the Grieg Concerto that I spoke about a few minutes ago with the Utah Symphony conducted by Joseph Silverstein, and this was also on Pro Art. But actually here, I have to say that Russell Sherman's fussy and finicky phrasing often clarifies much of Schumann's thick contrapuntal textures. And this approach gives a kind of extra kick to the cross-rhythmic phrases in the finale. But, for lyricism and singing eloquence, you really have to look elsewhere for a Schumann concerto, and that's why I keep those wonderful Ivan Moravec and Rudolf Serkin Chopin concerto recordings close by. Next in this set, another very fine Alfred Brendel and Antonio Ianigro Mozart concerto collaboration. And this is the Concerto No. 14 in E-flat, Koschel 449. It's nice to have this in the collection. Oh, then we have the Brahms First Concerto. It's also underplayed. This is the Peter Serkin, Robert Shaw Atlantic recording. Again, very underplayed. These, I just wish Peter Serkin had recorded these concertos with another conductor. It would have been so much better, because I heard him play the Brahms Second live, and it was a very energetic and stimulating performances. But these two are definitely meh. But these next recordings I'm going to talk about are real sleepers, and I had not heard these Beethoven concerto performances until I got hold of this Bach Guild bundle. Michael Roll is the pianist. That's Roll, and he's a really solid and stylish soloist in Beethoven's third and fifth concertos with the Royal Philharmonic conducted by Howard Shelley, who is a great and very underestimated pianist, I think. These are really good interpretations, not to be sniffed at. And there's also a very strong Beethoven triple concerto from these forces, along with violinist Jean-Jacques Cantereau and cellist Raphael Wallfisch. Then we have Mozart's C Major Concerto, Koschel 467, with Jonathan Carney conducting the Royal Philharmonic. The piano soloist is Ronan O'Hara, and he's a good soloist. He's a little reticent and sometimes even prim, and Ronan O'Hara's recordings frequently turn up in these Bach Guild bundles, by the way. Also, from the Pro Art catalog, here's another sleeper, and this is a very overlooked and I think highly distinctive Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 3. The pianist is Vladimir Viardot, and it has the Dallas Symphony Orchestra under the late, great Eduardo Mata. This is a very strong Rachmaninoff third recording that no one ever seems to talk about, probably because it's been long out of print on physical CD. But maybe this performance is worth the price of the whole collection. Hey, 99 cents for an excellent Rachmaninoff third concerto? Well, why not? Lastly, in this collection, we have two Soviet-era recordings issued in the 1950s. I think they did come out on Vanguard. I'm pretty sure they did. And they're from the 1950s with Kirill Kondrashin conducting the Liszt Concerto No. 1 and the Saint-Saëns Concerto No. 2 with piano soloist Emil Gilels. And the sound isn't great, and the orchestra playing is really not that great. Certainly it's not worthy of Kondrashin's talent. I think you can find much better examples of Kondrashin conducting concertos. But Gilels really does play the piano parts wonderfully well. But if you want to hear the Liszt Concerto really shine and take shape under Kondrashin's baton, you have to go to his classic studio recordings of both Liszt concertos with pianist Sviatoslav Richter, and that's a release that deserves a whole podcast episode in and of itself. So here's the $64,000 question, or more accurately, the 99 cents question. Is it worth plopping down your hard-earned 99 cents or your hard-earned $1.29 or $1.79 or whatever these things cost within the bargain basement range to download the Bach Guild Big Piano Concerto Box? I would say yes, if only for the Vladimir Viardot Rachmaninoff Third, the Rossina Levine Chopin First, the Peter Serkin and Alfred Brendel and Friedrich Gulda Mozart items, the Michael Roll Beethoven performances, and I suppose it's good to have the Russell Sherman Schumann and Grieg coupling as a curiosity that you will listen to every once in a while. This is Jed Disler, and you've been listening to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. I look forward to being with you for the next episode. Take good care.